And welcome to Krackpots We Met Downstairs, brought to you by Krackpots Comedy Club in Massillon, Ohio, with special thanks to Funny Noises Studios in Massillon, Ohio, and shout out to Dinda Moe's Unique Chocolates, which can be found at Krackpots Comedy Club in Massillon, Ohio. I am your host, Rebecca Mercoulin, and today I am with Jason Resler.
Hello, listeners out there in podcast land. Thanks for having me, Rebecca.
Thanks for coming up, Jason. I appreciate it. We brought you up here in the second floor, right above Krackpots, for the podcast. How you feeling? Describe the vibes.
It feels very similar to some of the band houses I stayed in for a weekend to do gigs back in the 90s and early 2000s. It's got a very free rent vibe.
Wait, what are band houses? I've never heard of that
Or
term.
comedy condos. It's generally a property. Back in those days, it was definitely generations prior. It would have been a property that the club owner owned and kind of used as a way to lodge the acts that were traveling through town. So you can imagine the often chaotic scenes that would happen in these type of residences? Is that even the correct word?
I don't know.
It was more like housing transients, you know? They'd have a different act every weekend, so that'd mean a different person, actually maybe a couple people, because the opening acts might be along with them. Of course, if it was a music club also, they'd have a whole band staying at one of those properties, and a lot of times they were the second floor directly above the venue, wherever we were playing. Other times it was just a rental property, some kind of investment property that the owner was flipping or something like that. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know those were a thing.
Yeah, that's how they used to try to cut the corners of paying the Best Western. Thing is, back then you could have gotten a Best Western for like $40. You know, now it's more like 100 and something. But yeah, businesses gotta do whatever they can to stay alive. So do artists. So. But I built a lot of really amazing relationships and friendships those weekends, being, you know, having a random roommate. A lot of times the booker would book acts that didn't necessarily even know each other. So it would be kind of like playing roommate roulette if you were on the road as an entertainer back then. A good share of those people I am still friends with to this day. It's amazing how close you can become in just a few days' time. There's been people where, you know, I spent a week with them in Seattle one time back in 2003 and feel obligated to go to their memorial, unfortunately. But I felt that close to them just having spent a week together hanging out.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, did I get too deep?
No, it's okay.
It was a different time. I recognize I'm kind of the last of the dying breed of road comic. There's a few of us left, but not very many. It's just unfortunately not feasible to travel until you've reached a certain level where you know you can draw in crowds. I kind of feel like I just kind of like got grandfathered in just because I've been around so long and I'm lucky enough to get mostly booked off a reputation, I suppose. But I do have to back it up when I show up, so there is that. But I'm lucky in a lot of ways to still be in the business this many years later. And and I think it's important that the new generation of comedians and entertainers in general understand what the previous entertainers did, you know, while we're cutting the path. It's important to know what once was. Me and Michael Chiselko, we were just talking about back in the day when the business was thriving so well that the opening acts and the middle acts could afford to fly to the gig. And we didn't even have to buy the tickets. They would send the ticket to you in the mail and then you'd go. Of course, you know, the overhead for clubs and whatnot is so much more expensive these days, and there's different permits you've got to have for live entertainment, all depending on your county, and a lot of that kind of stuff that goes into why. I want to be clear, I'm not blaming comedy club owners or nightclub owners. It's just the way everything's gotten so much more expensive. Which is kind of a little bit sad for a guy my age. First part of my career, obviously, I was opening up for other guys on the road, and we would often travel together. And then I had comics that opened up for me, and we would often travel together. But they either, you know, moved on and started families, started doing different things, had other business ventures, or landed in some other role within entertainment. A few of them got to be bigger than me to where they're too good and too big to open for me now. And that's cool, and I love that. But it has reached a point now where often the budget doesn't allow for the budget of any given show. The producer's budget just doesn't allow for us to bring our own opening act. So it means we're traveling alone more often these days, which is probably why I'm getting so motor-mouthed here on this podcast. It's just like, I haven't talked to anybody in the last 5 hours on the road. Blah, 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 blah.
Do you find it easier traveling on your own, or do you prefer traveling with your opening act?
There's a lot of guys that I miss. We traveled together for tens of thousands of miles, shoulder to shoulder. But to be honest, at my age, I'm kind of like, I got my own certain way of doing things where I've kind of dug in. And I would be eager to pass some of the knowledge that I have on to younger comics. I do when I can and when they're receptive to it. But being alone is okay too. I've got a lot of the technologies that we're not stuck with just AM and FM and maybe a folder full of CDs or tapes. Now there's satellite radio and you can do talk to text and keep texting with people all day, or even just talking a conversation in your car. We're all driving Knight Rider now. Back then, when I was growing up, cars like we all drive, that was called Knight Rider. And now everybody gets to drive Knight Rider, pretty much. It's a crazy world. There's been a lot of change for one lifetime.
What's the best thing about driving Knight Rider, in your opinion?
Probably, I like the feature on GPS lets me know when there's a cop up ahead. Knight Rider didn't even think of that, David Hasselhoff did not have that.
Did Knight Rider need to alert David Hasselhoff if there was a cop on the road?
Yeah, I guess he could probably just get away from him anyway, but that is pretty cool. I encourage everybody to keep it at a reasonable speed out there, but when you're on the road for as many miles as I am, sometimes they'll pull you over for less than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. I actually had an officer recently that I happened to drive a red muscle car, and I got pulled over. I was only going like 6 miles an hour over the limit, and I thought I was a little bit petty, but that's cool. Whatever, I understand it's a red sports car, but I didn't voice any of that to the police officer, and he kind of got defensive. He says, yeah, you're going 6 miles over, and I kind of smirked at him, and he goes, well, I didn't pull you over because of the color of your car or anything. And I just thought that was weird phraseology for him to choose. It's almost like it just came out naturally that he wanted to let me know the stuff had nothing to do with color. Anyway, I got tired of that car and being profiled, so I traded that red Challenger in on a white Ford Privileger, and that thing, you feel like you own the road when you're behind the wheel of one of those. I never get pulled over. It's great.
They're pretty strict about speed limits in a lot of areas.
Yeah, I mean,
so you just have to know where you are. Yeah.
You never want to go through the safety corridor even 1 mile an hour over, or construction zones. And you also have to be aware of when you have out-of-state plates, too. Because that's real, and kind of understand there's people that move illegal things around the country, so you got to probably take a little bit closer look at the out-of-state plates. But yeah, I don't want to get too political, so.
That's all right. Hey, why don't I keep bumping the table. That's going to sound great in the playback. We'll change the subject then, because we're talking a lot about cars and traveling.
Yeah, no problem.
So here at Krackpots, we met downstairs. We know a lot of interviewers can ask the same questions over and over again, and that can get pretty boring to answer the same 5 to 10 questions on a loop. So I'm going to try to ask you a question that you have never been asked before.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can do it.
Okay, I hope I have the answer. It's not like algebra or anything, is
No.
it? Okay.
No. So if you find yourself in a position where you have to create a weapon out of an unlikely material, what weapon are you making and what material are you using?
Well, this is like on the spur of the moment, and I had to make a weapon. I'm guessing time is limited because I wasn't prepared. I'm not already packing heat or anything. So I'm going to assume that I'm going to need a melee weapon because the threat is coming quick. And so I would probably grab a baseball bat, but then I would throw a sock over the top of the baseball bat. That way, when you hit the intruder and they try to grab the bat, the sock will slip right out. And then by the time they just realize they're holding a dirty sock, you can whack them again. And then that should be the end of the encounter. That's what I would do. I haven't put much thought into this or anything, but just off the top of my
No,
head.
that's a pretty good strategy, I think. Yeah. I've never tried to defend myself with a sock-covered baseball bat, but it sounds like it could work.
Yeah,
it sounds
you
like
know.
that could give you a little extra time.
And most people would think pound nails into the bat, or just the bat. And, unless you're, a ball player, that can be a little heavy if you haven't swung one in a few years. So they might be able to grab a hold of it. But if you've got a gym sock, not one of the little booty socks, like a knee-high tube sock, and pull that over the barrel of the bat, and then you whack them, even if they grab hold of the bat when you whack them in the ribs, then you can pull it out. They're just stuck there holding the sock, and they've got their guard down, so you can whack them in the head, and then it should pretty much be the end of the confrontation at that point. Is this like a zombie apocalypse scenario?
It's whatever.
Or just like
I'll leave that up to
Massillon?
your interpretation. I leave, unless I describe a specific scenario in the question itself, I leave it open to whatever you're thinking about.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was like something I needed to worry about here in Massillon.
No.
Is there gonna be some kind of conflict or something?
If there is, I didn't get the memo. So,
Okay, just so anybody knows, if you're listening, and you're thinking about starting some shit with me, I got ideas like the bat thing, and I got some other ideas too. So you might want to just wait for the next target to come along, but I prefer you just learn how to be nice.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Don't attack anybody.
Exactly. Violence is wrong, okay? The question was just a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Violence is wrong.
I mean, but I'm a big believer in the fight or flee rule,
Fight or flight, yeah.
Fight or flight. Most of the time, taking off is going to be the best answer. They always show these movies where somebody's a hero saving the day, and I'm not getting political because I am a gun owner, but the reality is, they show these movies where somebody saves the day with a pistol at the end, and they all drive off in the pickup, and they're like, yeah, we got the bad guy. But in real life, that's not how it goes. There's going to be an investigation. You got questionings. You're going to have to go sit in that room where they're recording you. Probably a room a lot like this, actually. It's probably going to be.
You're not the first person to make that comparison, yeah.
Man, I feel like I need to confess. A lot of confessions, I don't know if you listen to true crime, but a lot of confessions, they're not true. Sometimes people just confess to get out of these rooms.
Oh, no.
They don't realize they're going to a different room that's even worse. But yeah, that was a good question. I have never been asked that before.
Yes! I did it.
That was your goal. Nobody's ever asked me. Welcome to the comedy club. What kind of weapon do you need? Hopefully just a microphone and a stand. Talking about crazy stuff that happened on the road. There was a time playing in Idaho, central Idaho somewhere. Quite a small town. Kind of like northern Idaho. Near Montana there. And I was with a comedian named Cole Black out of Sacramento. He was opening the shows. And anyway, we had a packed house and everybody was really enjoying it, but somebody in the first or second row, and then like the second row, he was getting a little mouthy, and I had to settle him down, so I hit him with a heckle line. I cannot remember for the life of me what I said to the man, but everybody laughed, but he did not take it well. He got up, and he didn't even bother walking around the table to charge the stage. He just got up and went right through the table, over the top of the table to come at the stage, and I had no choice. I had to take that mic stand with the metal base and it just met him right in the sternum, and that kept him away, and security was able to get him and take him out of the club. And I think, not the first time something like that's happened. I knew the mic stand trick from before, right? But I didn't think much of it till the next day. Cole and I, we went down to the same bar and we're having breakfast before we leave for the next town, and it turns out the guy who charged the stage had just gotten out of prison for murder, capital murder, did 30 years or something, and this was his first week out, and he decided to charge the comedian on stage. And the bartender is telling us the story. And my buddy Cole, it was like kind of awkward, silent. My jaw was dropped. And my buddy Cole goes, well, I guess there must have been some kind of reason he killed him. I don't know. And then there was this old timer at the end of the bar who like all of a sudden chimes in the conversation. He's like, no bullshit. I was there. There wasn't no goddamn good reason at all. That was straight up murder. I finished up my eggs and I got out of that town. I haven't been back since. But yeah, that's the story about the time a convicted murderer charged my stage. So
Oh my
I
God.
sided with Chris Rock on the Will Smith thing.
Okay. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. He was out of prison for a week, and then that's how he's.
That's the way we were told the story. You know, I didn't get any names or anything, but
That's crazy. I'm glad you're okay. That's scary.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, there's been a few situations over the years that could have gotten scary quick. I played one place that had chicken wire in front of the stage because they'd throw bottles up there. It was like the Wild West back in the 20th century.
Wow. Clearly, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't all better, but maybe some things were better. Maybe there's something meeting in the middle, but I doubt that's likely. Progress is meant to happen. We have to learn to adjust. That's what humans have usually been slow at, but eventually good at. Not many of us can make a whole adjustment in one lifetime, but future generations, if you're listening and still alive by the time you hear this, I'm rooting for you to turn it around. I just got done visiting my granddaughter, my first grandchild.
Yeah.
And she's 14 months old, and got to spend a significant amount of time with her. And yeah, you know, I see the past relative in her facial features, and I see the future in her eyes. So it's kind of like this weird, not weird, but just this point in life where all things seem to be joining. And yeah, I'm definitely happy to be a grandfather.
What's the best part about being a grandfather?
I would say that. Being able to see the past and future both in her face. And that can also be the scariest part as far as the future. But my daughter and her husband are doing a great job, man. I do have to say. She'll never hear this anyway, but my daughter really is probably the best mother I've ever seen. She is just so good with her and so patient and knows how to handle the tantrums, knows how to handle the good moods. And man, I wish I had her energy. It's a lot of work taking care of little ones. I was on the road a lot when mine were really young, so, you know, I was home enough to create a lot of great memories too, so no regrets. So far, I love everything. I love trying to live up to how I looked at both my grandfathers, and I tried to be an even improved version of the great men that they were, and my father too. Trying to live up to the reputation that they all built and pass it along. I always told my son, it's my job to teach you everything I know, and then you're going to go out there and you're going to learn a bunch of stuff on your own. So one day you'll be way smarter than me. And that day has happened. He's 32 now, and he starts talking about certain things, and I'm like, shit, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm glad you can build a computer. That's terrific. Yeah.
That's so cool. I just want to applaud.
Oh,
I'm going to give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I feel like I'm rambling. I'm getting like to be the old man who wants to get everything out on these recording devices before I go. Now, I just spent some time with my dad on the same trip. He's been really sharing a lot more of his stories, too. My dad was a musician, bands for years, and played with some famous people even. Did gigs like 5 to 7 nights a week. So I grew up in the entertainment environment, and now he's, after a long break, he's running a barber shop. He's 75 years old and back playing in bands again and having a great time. He's really inspired me, made me feel like I'm not so old. Is this strictly a comedy podcast? Should I be being funny?
No, it depends on the episode.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I think you're doing a great job, Jason. I think you're doing cool.
It's always weird to me, this idea that you're invited onto podcasts and talk shows and things, and I'm like, so they're going to listen to me? Like, why? Why would anybody want to, what about me is so important, but at the same time, people pay like $20-$25 a ticket, sometimes more, come listen to me talk for an hour. So I guess there must be something in it for people. But I'm not always the funniest the hour leading up to showtime, just because I try to time my adrenaline and there's something special about, as far as like doing jokes before your show. For me personally, and each comedian, you do what is best for you, but I kind of feel like there's something special about the first time the words come out of your mouth on that given day. This is kind of like some of the magic. So I don't really believe in rehearsal. I'll go over notes in my head, but I don't actually recite the bits out loud the day of a show. Sometimes I'll try them out on my dog, like a couple days before the show, or my wife. Hopefully my wife laughs more than my dog, but it's a toss-up sometimes. That white privileger joke got nothing from the wife or the dog either. So maybe after trying it one more time here on this podcast, I'll just ditch that one. But it's okay. I rarely have time to get to all the jokes I had planned anyway. It just depends. But yeah, every show takes a different turn, so you never know.
And every episode takes a different turn on this podcast. I never know in the conversation. I have the describe the vibe question, and then I ask you a question you've never been asked before. And then after that, I don't know what happens. But this has been a great episode, Jason. You did a great job. I'm going to shake your hand if that's okay.
Absolutely.
You can't see it because it's just audio, but we're shaking hands. All right. Anything you want to plug before I do my outro?
Yeah, it's subscribe to me on YouTube. Jason Resler, JasonResler, youtube.com/Jason Resler. Subscribe to me on there. A singer-songwriter named Buck Stallion wrote a song about me that's on Spotify. It's called The Joke Slinger. Actually, I think there's a Joke Slinger Part 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. That's on Spotify. You can subscribe to me on Pandora. I honestly don't even care if you listen to it. Just click the thing, and I get like half a nickel. So you could like click it and then go walk your dog. I don't care. It's like, free money. So that's what I'm doing with like 20 different laptops at home right now. They're just streaming my Pandora radio and my Spotifys and my YouTubes. It's like a way of farming. I think that's all I know. Unless you're in the military, I'm doing a lot of shows for the military. If you know anybody in the Navy, they could probably see me at a base coming to them soon. I'm going all over the world for the Navy, which is cool because I'm a Navy veteran. And yeah, so I really enjoy doing that. But there's nothing like coming back and playing the comedy clubs. So yeah, check that out. Facebook, you can usually see where I'm going to be playing on Facebook. My website, I'm not the greatest at keeping it up to date. So Facebook is the best place to find out where to catch me live.
Sounds good. All right, well now it's time for my outro. So
okay.
No, you're good. That was a good...
And then the earth cooled and the dinosaurs came. And then
everything blew up from the sky, and now the fish can walk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I saw that happen live.
All right, guys. Well, if you watched this whole episode and you're having a good time, we love that. But this podcast is pre-recorded. But don't let that stop you from coming in for a live show, because we've got a bunch of stuff going on all the time here at Krackpots. You can check the schedule at krackpotscomedy.com. See what strikes your fancy. If you come on a Friday or Saturday show, tell them Rebecca sent you, and you will get $5 off your check. And while you are here at Krackpots Comedy Club in Massillon, Ohio, check out Dendamo's Unique Chocolates. She's got her own little booth right in the front of the club. You'll find it. You'll know where it's at. And you can also order Pigs and Mud, which is a Krackpots exclusive item from Dendamo's Unique Chocolates. It's a little brownie shaped like a little piggy that's covered in chocolate and then coated in chocolate syrup. It's so good, you guys. Come in for a live show and order it. You will not regret it, I promise. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we are recording this podcast in an old radio station right above Krackpots. We've got one room dedicated to the podcast, but we've got a couple of other rooms that aren't being used right now. So mayhaps if you want to record a podcast or you need the filming location for a short film or something, you can reach out to nfpbookings@gmail.com, and someone from Funny Noises Productions will get back to you with more information on that. Yep, that's it. That's the outro. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye!